First, I need to explain just what I mean by materialism. I'm referring to philosophical materialism, not economic materialism or consumerism. Economic materialism is the notion that fulfillment comes through the acquisition of physical possessions. Philosophical materialism is the idea that the world and everything in it, including animals and humans, are constructed from physical components that interact with each other in consistent and predictable ways. It also asserts, based on accumulated data and experience, that spirits, deities, demons, etc. are either non-existent or non-interactive. Economic materialism is what Christians complain about near Christmas time. Philosophical materialism is what Christians complain about the other 9 months of the year, especially in association with communism. This is, of course, in spite of the fact that Jesus Christ himself was far more anti-capitalistic than Karl Marx. Over the past 130 years, atomism has graduated from a useful metaphysical construct to the de facto method of describing the world we live in. We no longer guess and speculate about how materials are interacting with each other. We can isolate and observe individual atoms in addition to creating sophisticated mathematical models that reliably conform to demonstrated reality. While there may be some subatomic activity that is difficult to predict, everything that affects our daily lives is comprised of understood atomic processes. Atomic masses attract each other. Atomic bonds form through the exchange or sharing of electrons. Relatively motionless charged particles affect other charged particles. And charged particles in motion affect other charged particles. The atomic theory is so complete, so accurate and precise, and so reliable as to leave no room large enough for spirits and deities to take action. This should be enough, but I want to include some larger scale examples as well. The classical vision of disease was that maladies were caused by divine retribution or demonic attack. This was demonstrated by Jesus as he repeatedly healed people by casting out demons. However, it is safe to say that this is all hogwash. We know today that diseases are either caused by parasitic invasion or disturbances to normal biological processes. Diseases are cured by bolstering natural immune responses or through the administration of poisons that are deadlier to parasite than host. Priestly or divine intervention has no observable effect beyond placebo. Visiting a cleric of any flavor, be it a traditional priest or shaman, or a modern homeopath or crystal healer, will never surpass the efficacy of a quality diagnosis and care plan from a modern medical practitioner. It's true that doctors sometimes make mistakes, and treatments can be destructive, but I'll take that chance any day over trusting my life to a prayer and blessing. It is plausible that the right kind of parasite might cause a herd of pigs to stampede over a cliff. However, these parasites would not vacate a human host simply from the symbolic demand of an adjacent human. Nor would the parasites have sufficient symbolic awareness to self-identify as legion. People used to think that storms, rain, and earthquakes and volcanoes were the domain of the gods. We now know that the weather is the product of physical interactions between the earth and the sun. Seasons are caused by the uneven heating of the earth due to the earth's axial tilt. Storms are caused by the uneven heating of the earth, which causes atmospheric drafts, evaporation, and condensation. As much as people bemoan their local weather guy, meteorologists are really good at predicting when and where a lot of natural disasters will strike. Furthermore, there is no statistical correlate between the righteousness of any local population and the benevolence of their weather. Given that the former Wild West is one of the most religiously devout portions of the country, one might predict that the weather would be kinder there. However, it is a hotbed of some of the most destructive weather in the world, which is why today we call the American Midwest Tornado Alley. If the weather were a means of doling out divine justice, it has a funny way of manifesting itself. Given that atheism and religious apathy correlate strongly with education and economic stability, the people worst hurt by natural disasters are disproportionately devout. Similar arguments can be made for volcanoes, earthquakes, and tsunamis. While accelerometer networks that measure activity in the Earth's crust are less precise than weather satellites that measure the atmosphere, we can still say a lot about where and when earth-shattering events will occur. And once again, it's not like plate tectonics disproportionately affect any group of people based solely on their lifestyle. So most of this presentation has been about why the world around us is best described as materialistic. This next bit is about how you are material yourself. The human experience is one that is essentially dualistic. We feel like our basic identity is the driver of our bodies. However, just because that's what we perceive, it doesn't mean that our perception is perfect. It is very likely that the human intuition regarding the existence of the soul is a byproduct of brain structure. In any event, while our understanding of the brain is still in its infancy, we can say with reasonable confidence that the entirety of our experience is the product of neurotransmitters. We've known for over 100 years that there is an intimate link between muscle action, sensory perception, and stimulation of the brain. During brain surgery, doctors can probe parts of the brain to force muscle actions, while probing other parts of the brain to create sensations of touch throughout the body. The brain has been mapped out for this kind of stimulation in diagrams called the homunculus. If we had spirits, it seems very strange that prodding the brain would cause movements and sensory experience. However, if we are material beings, and the brain is the central aggregator for our senses and thoughts, then it makes perfect sense that direct stimulation would cause the observed phenomena. Modern society uses a host of pharmaceuticals to alter our daily lives. I personally take Prozac, and it has made a world of difference in my overall outlook on life. The best way I can describe it is that it's easier for me to notice my own accomplishments and abilities, whereas off the medication, I'm more likely to focus on my failures and shortcomings. While I was unmedicated, I got nauseous every time I started to fill out a job application. I felt like I was lying in an attempt to talk myself up. Now I have no problem talking up my strengths. I can recognize that I excel in some areas, and in those areas where I don't excel, I can see the shortcomings of others and forgive myself. If the basis of our personality were an immortal soul, then Prozac seems like a very strange thing to benefit from. However, if our life is governed by chemistry, it makes perfect sense that altering one's personal biochemistry will have a dramatic effect on our daily lives. In the past, people suffering from afflictions like schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder would have been considered demon-possessed. It is very likely that many prophets of antiquity suffered from epilepsy. Today, we treat these diseases with drugs and counseling. Many conditions that historically would have been viewed as spiritual maladies are now treated as physical maladies, often with great success. The fact that a pill works so much better than an exorcism is some pretty compelling evidence to me that there's no such thing as a spiritual realm or spirits or demons. I'd like to introduce you to the newest member of my household, Loki. As you can see, he's a black cat. It is guaranteed that anyone who comes to visit my home will either cross the path of a black cat or their path will be crossed by a black cat. Now I ask you, am I or any visitors to my home likely to suffer any misfortune because of our proximity to my cat? If you don't think that black cats bring bad luck, then why not? I'd bet it's because there's no causal mechanism linking the melanin in my cat's fur to the opportunities of my house guests. Likewise, there's likely no audio receptor listening to you as you pray in your closet. There's no brain scanner tracking your brain waves while you lust after the hottie in yoga pants, and there's no divine atmospheric pressure causing spontaneous weather changes based on tithing. We would do well to focus our attention on the real causes of problems and work towards real solutions. Your Sunday attendance has nothing to do with whether or not your bank is going to do abhorrent things with your money. We should respect ourselves for the animals that we are. While you cannot pray the gay away, you can certainly live a fulfilling life when you accept yourself for who and what you are, and treat yourself and others appropriately.